Do you remember the Shel Silverstein book, The Giving Tree? It's a great book, a classic. Everybody should own this book, but it's the story of a benevolent, loving tree. And there's just an insatiable boy that's on a quest, and he climbs the tree, he cuts the tree, he turns it into this, that, and the other. And the giving tree gives until it was just given out. I'm going to come back to that in a moment, but I want to welcome you to the Truth for a New Generation webcast. Hi, Alex McFarland here, and I want to start and talk with you a little bit about some of the voices calling for socialism in our culture, and some of the progressive liberals that really pride themselves on being secular, but almost have the zeal and the fervor for socialism and statism of a religious crusader. Now, we live in very interesting times because many are using the attributes of America ultimately to dismantle America. It's fascinating, and we've got to really put on our thinking cap to kind of understand what's going on here. But I think the state of our times was addressed very eloquently and accurately in a Wall Street Journal article a few months ago by a man named Michael Bleckman. Bleckman is a lifelong Democrat, rather, and was a staffer for Robert F. Kennedy during his campaign. In fact, one of the leaders of Kennedy's campaign. And in the article, Bleckman and the Wall Street Journal say, quote, "Liberalism is not what it used to be." And let me read a little bit how they talk about many of the policies of ones that once were thought to be liberal progressives, like Robert F. Kennedy. Today, I mean, my goodness, he would be seen as a backward conservative. That's how far the Democrat Party and liberalism, now socialist progressivism, has moved beyond leaders like LBJ, JFK, and Robert F. Kennedy. Now, let me read this quote by Michael Bleckman. Very interesting. He says, "Core beliefs that made me a liberal in 1968 today put me at odds with many of the things progressives stand for. Progressives today are running roughshod over much of what liberalism once stood for." Now, he goes on to speak of really the, quote, "selective tolerance of the left, the militant identity politics that favors certain groups, and the preferential treatment, and really the unjust treatment given to those that disagree. Preferential treatments if you have the right ideology, and then undermined rights if you don't line up with the progressive ideology." Now think about this. Joe Biden, for instance, running for president, the presumptive nominee of the Democrat Party right now. And yet, he spoke at the funeral of Robert Byrd, leader of a chapter of the KKK. I mean, my goodness, can you imagine the firestorm of fury that would come about if a major conservative candidate that was, delivering a eulogy at a KKK leader's funeral? We both know that the sword of tolerance nowadays only cuts one way in the minds of many. I think about Hillary Clinton calling the largest voting bloc in America deplorable. Can you imagine the misogynistic epithet when Hillary Clinton said that women who vote for Donald Trump only did so, quote, "because their husbands told them to," as if women can't think and act independently and make decisions of their own. Now, when the left talks about people that are phobic and intolerant and deplorable and, homophobic, transphobic, Islamophobic, what other deplorables of history would fit in their definition? Well, how about names like these? Moses, Abraham, Solomon, Aristotle, Jesus Christ, Augustine, Aquinas, Kepler, Dante, Da Vinci, Michelangelo, Descartes, Blaise Pascal, Galileo, Berkeley, Copernicus, Newton, Abraham Lincoln, not to mention every single one of the 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence, because all of the founders did believe in Judeo-Christian morality. They believed in heterosexual monogamy. A man and a woman is what defines marriage. The Founding Fathers, not to mention the greatest moral thinkers throughout 6,000 years of human history, they believed in objective moral truth. Ditto for a man named Fisher Ames, the man that wrote the First Amendment. Whenever I speak at universities and I'm told you can't mention morality because morality violates the First Amendment, I'm like, really? Listen carefully. How is it that 21st century secularists seem to know more about the application of the First Amendment than the man that wrote the First Amendment? Fisher Ames wanted the Bible taught in all public schools because he said it's the best vehicle for teaching morality to young people. And so we're living in a time where pro-socialist voices really are using the tools of America to undermine and weaken America. It's really a toxic philosophy and political track we're on that's unsustainable. Now, we're going to come back to this in a moment, but I think about even go back to FDR, JFK, LBJ. Go back even to liberals like Al Franken and Barney Frank from 10 to 15, 20 years ago. My goodness, these guys look comparatively conservative, even patriotic, even, dare I say, credible compared to socialist progressive ideologues of today. Now hold that thought. We're going to come back and I'm going to give a little bit of a bottom line, but I want to give a shout out to a couple of people that watch our videos, watch our webcasts. I want to give a shout out to Laura Stein, I think in North Carolina. Thanks for watching, Laura. How about Betty Higgins in Tennessee? Thanks for liking, thanks for sharing. How about Joe Martin in I don't know where, the USA? Joe, thanks for watching. Hey, these webcasts where we talk about politics, current events through a biblical lens, apologetics, defending the faith, we appreciate you liking and sharing publicly. Every Friday we give a book away, and this Friday will be no different. If you share publicly, you're going to get my book that's overtly, intensely political, 10 Issues That Divide Christians. It's worth reading whether you're a Christian or not. But there are over 200 footnotes. I worked more on this book than any other book I've written, more than 17 books. God's allowed me to write hundreds of articles. But we talk about the environment. We talk about marriage, the Supreme Court, the nature of the country, American exceptionalism. So, share publicly. You're entered to win automatically. We're going to announce the winner of this book on Friday. And I'm rebuilding my fall speaking calendar. You may have heard COVID crashed everybody's spring and summer calendar. And you can go to my website, alexmcfarland.com. There are over 24 topics that I speak on related to culture, religion, politics, apologetics, and much more. By God's grace, been in over 2,000 churches, 200 universities. I don't know where all I've been, but it's been a lot of places. I feel like I've seen the country from 3 vantage points in the last 20 years, from airplane windows, hotel rooms, and podiums. But I want to come to your town, and we'll talk about truth and God and country. A final thought here, kind of the bottom line. The giving tree. The little boy took and took until the tree was dead and gone. I fear for our country that there's going to be so much taking and so much dismantling and so much revisionism and so much deconstructing. One day we might wake up and America is just too far gone to be saved. Are we there yet? Only God knows. But I go back to the 1787 Constitutional Convention. The oldest and maybe wisest person there, Benjamin Franklin. Couple of things that he said. He said, a nation of well-informed men who have been taught to know and prize the rights God has given them cannot be enslaved. So we've got to stay well-informed, don't we? Franklin also said this, it is in the region of ignorance that tyranny begins. Friend, don't be ignorant of our past. Don't be blind to our present, but do be committed to truth and God. And let's all do what we can do to pray for our country, be representatives of truth, and do what we can do to help stand strong for our country. God bless you. Thanks for watching. Stand true, stand strong, and we'll see you soon.